it's really, really important that teachers understand autism, that the head teacher takes a really proactive approach to this. But unfortunately, as this report shows, the education system is holding those children back. Those things are not in place. Children are not getting the right support.
So many frustrated parents get in contact with us today, Jane. I wonder if you could, I'm sure you've heard many of these before. Samantha says, I'm a single mum of an autistic teenager. Every day I'm in dispute with either the school or the education department to help my intelligent, wonderful son. The education system has failed him. They make him feel isolated, mad, and the only person experiencing this. Is that a familiar refrain?
I'm really sad to say that it is. So at the National Autistic Society, we run an education rights service to help parents in exactly that situation. So I would certainly suggest to your listeners that they go on our website, which is autism.org.uk, and find the number and call us, because we can help in that situation and give some advice. But as this report shows, many people are waiting more than a year for the right education support. So that's a year where those children are not getting basic lessons in maths, in English, all the skills that they would need to live independently. And that's an enormous cost to those children. Often autistic adults tell us they're very, very traumatised by those early experiences in schools. It's not just that year that it's a problem for, it can be a problem for people's whole lives.
Well, that's what I want to just pick up, because presumably if you know, at that start, that really important part of your education, if things aren't going right for you, then it can have a lifelong impact, presumably.
Absolutely. It means people don't get those skills to live independently. It means people are less likely to get a job, and that's an enormous cost to those children. It can also be a cost to their parents, because often those children end up excluded from school, and parents have to stop work in order to homeschool them, as you've been talking about earlier this week. That's a cost to the children, it's a cost to those families, it's also a massive cost to the taxpayer.
Can I just pick up a thought from Natalie there, and her son is now getting the help that she needs and that he needs, and she's seen a big difference. When children start getting the right help, do you see that echoed across the sort of spectrum?
Oh, absolutely. So at the National Autistic Society, we run 8 special schools ourselves, and there's one child I can think of in one of our schools who came to us who couldn't actually walk from the taxi to the school the first day she came. It actually took 2 hours to help her to walk that distance, because it was such an unfamiliar, overwhelming environment. I saw that child a year ago. She was running down the corridors. You would never have thought that that was the same child. It makes a massive, massive difference. But the problem is that while we have that good practice in some areas, it is not across the country. And what we need is a national strategy that sets out how many places do we need in mainstream schools, because most autistic children will go to mainstream schools. What support will there be for teachers and head teachers all the way through their career, not just at the start? How many special schools do we need, and how many units in mainstream schools do we need in the middle? Actually, at the National Autistic Society, we're involved in all of those things. We run the special schools, we provide support for teachers through the Autism Education Trust, and thanks to a generosity of a donor, we work with some units in mainstream schools. But what we don't have is that across the country. It's left to chance at the moment, and it shouldn't be left to chance.
We have asked for a government minister to come on and talk to us about this week. We've still got until Friday, so this, not just autism, but everything to do with special educational needs. Angela, my little girl has ADHD. She's 10 years old and at an enhanced resource school. As well as having a unit for autism, it supports approximately 30 other children across the school with extra needs. My child has a special needs plan and is supported by one of these places. The reason she's improving is down to the specialist knowledge and expertise. And that sort of leads me on to a question which quite a few people are asking this morning about balancing the needs of autistic children with those who don't have autism. How is it best to make sure that balance is met?
Well, some of the things that autistic children need actually help all children. So one thing that can really, really help autistic children, as actually shown in the A Word last night on BBC One, was visual supports. So actually having a visual timetable that says we're going to do maths at this point, then we're going to go out for playtime, then there's going to be a break and you're going to eat something. We probably wouldn't get playtime for then a break, but then you're going to do yoga or whatever the timetable is. Just express it in pictures as well as words. That's not a problem for other children. That can actually help lots of other children to understand what's going on in the day. Our experience is actually most things that you put in place for autistic children are good for other children. They don't cause problems usually.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you so much for getting in touch. I want to just bring you back to what Samantha was saying earlier, and she was talking about her autistic teenager, and she says, he's a little miracle, and talking about what we've been doing. You've made me feel human, and that there are others out there. You've made me feel stronger. So thank you so much to everybody for getting in touch. And really the sense is you are not alone. If you've been struggling with this is what we're getting, isn't it, here?
Absolutely.
You're not alone.
Yeah, Margaret says it's a constant struggle. I removed my son from school after being threatened with legal action as he wouldn't attend, but she says now he's at year 3 at university and he's on course for a first. So that's great to hear, Margaret. Well done.
And you know how to get in touch.